The uprising of City-17 on a Combine-controlled planet Earth was an iconic and very important moment in human history. This rebellion did not occur overnight. It started 20 years before, with years of planning, scavenging, and oppression. In order to work together efficiently, many resistance bases were set up in secret across the wasteland. There was, however, one base that became not only the home of the leader of the resistance, but the heart of it. A refuge for humanity and Vortigaunt, a safe haven from the shadow of the Combine's brutal regime, and ultimately, the place that the Resistance truly believed they had a chance to take down the Combine. What made this Resistance base so important? Who founded it? And what eventually happened to it? Here, we explore in the lore and story behind Black Mesa East. On May 16th of an unknown year in the early 2000s, an experiment at a top-secret research facility, Black Mesa, ended with disastrous unforeseen consequences. A resonance cascade connected planet Earth to a border world called Zen. Despite all of the personnel's attempts of this facility to reduce the fallout, this moment alerted a multi-universal alien empire of Earth's existence. The Combine did not come in peace. Instead, they launched a worldwide invasion. Over the next 7 hours, humanity fell to the overwhelming force of this empire. They were outsmarted, outgunned, and outmanned. The Combine had conquered many species before this, and upon their victories, had mentally and physically adapted their victims into new soldiers in preparation for a future war. On this 7th hour, a representative of humanity, Dr. Wallace Breen, offered the Combine the entirety of humanity's submission in return for their lives, in which they accepted. In order to keep their newly acquired species in line, the Combine adapted the cities across the planet into settlements to watch over and control the population within. These settlements were then labeled cities and designated a number. In Eastern Europe, City-17 eventually became home to many of the survivors of the Black Mesa incident that had led to this invasion, and these survivors would not allow the Combine to break them. Together, Dr. Eli Vance, Dr. Isaac Kleiner, Dr. Arnie Magnusson, and Barney Calhoun formed the Resistance. In these early days, each member used their specific skill set to play their role in what would become a long fight against the Combine. The scientists had worked together on advanced technology at Black Mesa and planned to use this knowledge to benefit them. To do this, they each required their own space to work. Dr. Isaac Kleiner formed a secret lab within City-17 in an abandoned northern petrol building. From here, he and Barney Calhoun set up surveillance within the city and reported their findings to the rest of the Resistance. Their knowledge became invaluable after Barney used his skills to join the Civil Protection as a spy. As a member of the Combine's police force, he learned of upcoming raids and various other valuable pieces of information that would keep each member of the Resistance safe. Dr. Arnie Magnusson took a small team with him to a region now known as the Outlands. Within an old, abandoned Cold War base, he put his scientific efforts into building a rocket that he believed would close a super portal if one were to form during a future uprising. As for Dr. Eli Vance, he sought out a location he could use to work without interruption and raise his daughter in safety. His role and the location he chose would be one of the most important in this entire war. Buried within the dangerous canals of City-17, Eli set up Black Mesa East. This name, of course, was a reference to the original Black Mesa he had once worked at before the fall. This location was perfect. It was close enough to travel into City 17 if he or the other members stationed here needed to, and it was just far enough away to evade the occasional Combine scan. The building itself, from the outside, appeared to be a small abandoned power generation plant, a part of a local dam that produced electricity for the surrounding settlements. However, inside, it held many secrets. This structure dove many levels below, with long, claustrophobic corridors and tunnels to many regions across the wasteland. It was a large compound that, if used efficiently, would become the heart of the Resistance. At this point, the Resistance was small, merely a handful of those brave enough to voice their defiance against the Combine, and as whispers spread of a secret resistance across the wasteland, they were quietly brought into the fold and placed into a base that fit them best. The Black Mesa incident had led to the arrival of the Combine on Earth. It had also brought the Vortigaunt, a species that had evaded the Combine strike on their homeworld. Although the Vortigaunt had fought with humanity during the incident, Eli Vance reached out to them, and together they formed an agreement to fight together against the Combine, in which many avoided the Combine's attempts to capture them in the safe haven of Black Mesa East. This compound was extremely large, and as more of humanity and Vortigaunt joined the fight and moved in, it became a fully operational resistance base with Dr. Eli Vance as its leader. As of now, we know that the compound consisted of 5 floors, and each one had a specific function. The ground floor, above the surface from a glance, was dedicated to keeping anything unwanted out. As a resistance base, it had to be a secure location, and many procedures were put in place to achieve this. From the outside, hidden behind a building, an enclosed yard was home to a heavy blast door and 2 signs. Admittance to authorized personnel only, which would have been placed there before the fall of humanity by those who had worked there, and the second sign read, contaminated area. These signs and warnings were placed by the Combine across other regions of the wasteland to warn of Xenian-infested areas that, even now, they struggled to contain. The perfect deterrent, even for the Combine. If this warning was ignored, CCTV cameras were used to scan the local area and warn of any intruders. If an intruder were to come across an entrance to Black Mesa East and pass the doors, a decontamination chamber was used to trap and then scan anyone or anything that entered it. From a control panel, the Resistance members stationed here would then have full control over what happened to whoever or whatever they had contained. Through the use of a stairwell or elevator system, the population of this complex had access to the next floor down. Within this makeshift dormitory, the soldiers scavenged beds, chessboards, and various other pieces of furniture from the wasteland to at least make this complex dedicated to the fall of the Combine a home, almost a sanctuary away from the evil outside. Over the years, Black Mesa grew, and every person that joined the Resistance had an important role to play. Some took on the role of surveillance, some scavenged what they could from raids of Combine-controlled strongholds, and others helped out Eli. Each role was crucial, and one of the most important were the team that worked in the kitchen, in which the Vortigaunt were frequently spotted. Not only did the Vortigaunt keep the Resistance fed, but they also had an essential role to play on the floor below. Black Mesa East had slowly become the heart of the Resistance, connected across the wasteland, and relied on their secrecy and security to keep running efficiently. The Vortigaunt had a valuable natural ability that the Combine wanted to explore. This species had a connection to a powerful, unseen force called the Vortessence. From will alone, they could channel energy from the Vortessence to help them fight, communicate with each other over large distances, and in the case of Black Mesa East, charge generators with blasts of their green energy. This connection to a natural energy source allowed Black Mesa East to remain self-sufficient, and without the need to seek out energy sources outside. They were hidden from the Combine's radar. On the bottom floor of the Black Mesa East complex, Dr. Eli Vance set up a lab. In here, over time, he acquired multiple workstations and objects similar to those he had used and studied during his time at Black Mesa. This could suggest that he either came upon them by chance, or a team was sent in to the ruins of the facility. The latter, as of now, is complete speculation. When Eli was not raising his daughter or out on raids of Combine facilities, he was here in his lab. He worked on new technologies, dismantled stolen Combine equipment and weaponry, and learned how they worked. With this knowledge, he theorized and developed new technology that he believed would give the Resistance a chance. His role was important, and he was not alone. Resistance members often wandered the halls. His Vortigaunt assistant helped give a burst of extra power to his equipment if it was required, and frequent video calls with Isaac Kleiner in City 17 and Arnie Magnusson in the Outlands allowed the leaders of this resistance to relay any new information and breakthroughs they had discovered. Black Mesa East was a huge compound, and to store all of the stolen Combine technology, Eli made use of a vast junkyard. This small outside area not only became home to this technology, but it also became a recreational area for the Resistance to enjoy the outside without fear of a random headcrab attack or Combine surveillance sweep. This was also the perfect place for Eli's daughter, Alex, to enjoy. Eli's lab was not just his workspace, it was his home and sanctuary. He placed an old family photo, various books, and a board of newspaper articles that displayed the important events of the 7-Hour War. This war also brought out the occasional rant of how much he despised Wallace Breen. Wallace had once been his administrator back at Black Mesa, but during the 7-Hour War, he had turned on his own kind and aligned with the Combine as their puppet to spout their orders. As more technology was stolen from the Combine, Eli constructed a robot to protect Alex. At first, Dog was smaller than she was. However, over the years, he and Alex worked on him to the point in which he towered over both of them, and he became an integral part of the resistance and defense of Black Mesa. Over the Resistance's many expeditions out into the Wasteland, they picked up unique and interesting items. As a curious mind, Eli of course examined them in order to understand them, and one of them was the head of a cremator, a Combine-created creature that none of the known Resistance had encountered or understood how it functioned. Black Mesa East had turned from an abandoned building into a Resistance base where Eli worked in his lab as the Resistance here planned their next attacks against the Combine. Humanity was desperate for a change, and they needed to play their part. Within City 17, Isaac Kleiner and Barney Calhoun watched as the population around them lived in constant fear and turmoil. One mistake could result in their death, or even worse, mutilated and adapted into a stalker. This was a living nightmare, and many wanted to escape the city. Even the attempt to leave City 17 was extremely dangerous, and the wasteland itself was home to deadly creatures that the Combine worked hard to keep out. The Resistance had grown a large amount since it had formed, and with its main goal to save humanity from the Combine reign, they set up the Underground Railroad. This essentially acted as a route from City 17 through to Black Mesa East through a string of smaller Resistance bases, all in contact with each other through a radio system. This Underground Railroad allowed the refugees almost safe passage through the sewers of City 17, its canals, and finally, safety at Black Mesa East. It was a great system for the most part. Barney's intelligence as a spy allowed the Resistance bases to avoid Combine raids to keep their operations secret, but it was not foolproof. On occasion, some escape attempts were discovered, bases were attacked, and even the creatures of the wasteland took down the refugees that just wanted to live in safety. So, Isaac and Eli sought another way to get the refugees from City 17 to Black Mesa East without these dangers. As a part of the anomalous materials team at Black Mesa, the scientists had an understanding of how teleportation technology worked. Dr. Kleiner had even written a book on it. They believed that if they could construct a teleporter in each of their bases that used Zen as a slingshot, they could transport themselves, the Resistance, and refugees between their bases without interference. As more joined the Resistance, these new, bright minds were placed in positions that made full use of their skill set. One of these was Dr. Judith Mossman. She had applied to work at Black Mesa, but had lost the role to another scientist, Gordon Freeman. This had likely saved her life, and as she became acquainted with Black Mesa East, she helped Eli, Isaac, and Alex build up the teleportation system. For the most part, the Underground Railroad worked well. However, Black Mesa East soon began to fill up very fast. It was a large complex, but not large enough to house all of the new members that arrived. To their luck, Black Mesa East was very close to an abandoned town. Ravenholm was large and also just far enough away from City 17 to occupy the Resistance without fear of being discovered by the Combine. The empty town soon became home to many refugees of City 17, and in order to keep their traversal between Black Mesa East and Ravenholm safe and secret, they made use of an underground tunnel. For a while, Ravenholm allowed the Resistance to continue to grow as Eli, Isaac, and Arnie worked on new technology, surveillance, and raids of Combine facilities with the help of their growing army. Despite their best efforts to work in secret, the Combine soon discovered the existence of the Resistance town. The Resistance had become a problem for the Combine, and they took every opportunity they could to dismantle any attempts they made to grow. The group worked in secret, and when Resistance activity did occur, the Combine took swift action to capture and interrogate them for more information. In the case of an entire Resistance town, the Combine instead decided it would be best just to wipe them out. To do this, they launched many headcrab shells across Ravenholm and just waited for the chaos to begin. The headcrabs instantly attacked anything around them and latched onto the heads of the Resistance and refugees that lived here. These then turned into zombies and helped in the destruction of the town. Ravenholm fell from a prosperous, safe Resistance town into a nightmare, and those trapped inside desperately attempted to escape. The Combine had effectively taken down an entire Resistance town, yet they were not aware that it was connected to a secret Resistance base. Within Black Mesa East, Eli had a tough decision to make. If he closed the tunnel between Black Mesa East and Ravenholm, It would keep his base secret, keep everyone inside safe, and allow the resistance to continue in their fight. But this action would also doom everyone in Ravenholm to a cursed fate. With the very future of the resistance in peril, Eli ordered for the tunnels between Black Mesa East and Ravenholm to be closed. The fall of Ravenholm was a major setback for the resistance. They had lost a lot of their army in this strike, but due to Eli's tough choice, there was at least still a resistance to fight. So, life went on in Black Mesa East. In his lab, Eli continued to work on new technology that he hoped would help in this war, one of which was the zero-point energy field manipulator, also known as the gravity gun, a device designed to help lift heavy objects and move hazardous materials. Alongside this, more effort was put into the teleporters in Eli and Isaac's bases. Through many experiments and failures, one that included a cat, they finally made the breakthrough they had worked for. They just had to send through their first person. On this red letter day, Eli and Isaac plan to teleport one person from their base into the others. If this worked, it would completely change the way the resistance traveled. This was only the beginning. This day would be memorable, just not in the way they thought. Within Black Mesa East, Eli received a video call from Dr. Kleiner, and to his surprise, he saw Gordon Freeman, the scientist that had stopped the resonance cascade 20 years before and simply disappeared. Eli believed that Gordon would be essential in their fight against the Combine. He and Kleiner believed that Gordon and Alex would be the perfect people to try their teleportation experiment, in which Alex teleported through successfully, but Gordon's attempt failed as a result of the interference of Isaac's pet headcrab, Lamar. Although the teleportation had failed on the second attempt, it had been a fault caused by a factor outside of his reach, and so he continued to work as he waited for Gordon to traverse the Underground Railroad. Eventually, Gordon arrived at Black Mesa East, and Eli and his old friend reunited, but they were not aware that there was a spy in their midst. Judith Mossman believed in Eli's work, but Wallace Breen needed to prove to the Combine that he had humanity under control after Gordon had evaded all of his attempts of capture. With Judith's report that Gordon had arrived at Black Mesa East, Wallace Breen ordered for a strike. As Alex showed Gordon around and introduced him to the gravity gun, dog, and the various other pieces of equipment Black Mesa East had built over these years, they watched in horror as Black Mesa East was attacked. Inside, civil protection units broke into the complex and shot down every resistance member they saw on site. When they finally reached the bottom floor, they captured Eli, the resistance leader that had evaded them for years, and set off explosions across the facility. This collapsed entire corridors and slowly destroyed the home that the resistance had formed here over many years. Wallace had ordered this strike with the main objective to capture Gordon Freeman. However, Gordon managed to escape through the tunnels of Ravenholm as Alex and Dog ventured out through a different exit. This was the fall of Black Mesa East, and just like Ravenholm, it was felt by the entire resistance. But this time, the morale and fight did not die with Black Mesa East. It continued on with Gordon Freeman as a symbol of revolution. Black Mesa East was once the heart of the resistance, the end of the Underground Railroad, a safe haven, and the home of its leader. It was also responsible for the creation of many bases across the Wasteland, home to new resistance members. Black Mesa East had fallen, but its message had not. The strike on this complex only pushed the resistance to fight harder, and as the days went on, the uprising began. During the oppressive times of a Combine-controlled planet Earth, Black Mesa East became not only the heart of the resistance, but it also became a safe haven for countless refugees desperate to see change in the world. Its mere existence allowed the Underground Railroad to grow, a thriving community to expand across the wasteland, and ultimately planted the seed for an uprising. With the fall of City 17 after the destruction of the Citadel, anything that resembled a part of Black Mesa East is now likely gone. As of now, only the survivors of the resistance of City 17 remember the place that Eli raised his daughter. Dog was created, humanity and Vortigaunt came together to properly take down a common enemy, grand technologies were explored, and ultimately, the bravest of humanity had a place to live and hide from the looming shadow of the Combine Empire. Black Mesa East has always been a fascinating location to explore. A large complex hidden away from the Combine Empire with a long tunnel to the nightmare town of Ravenholm. I remember Black Mesa East fondly, and when I was younger, I found that I would linger here because I knew what was coming next, a horrific horror section. As an adult, I now enjoy Ravenholm a lot more. I feel like I summed up Black Mesa East pretty well in the Legacy section. As the player, we were there briefly as a stepping stone on our journey. However, this was a home for many Resistance members that were likely killed in the assault brought on by Judith Mossman and Wallace Breen. Black Mesa East gave us, the player, a place to relax after a constant chase sequence through the canals, and when we were lulled into that false sense of safety. Valve threw us into the claustrophobic streets of headcrabs. The last few videos I have posted have been very long and have taken a lot of research to get out, so I'm pretty happy to work on this one. It is my Black Mesa East, a safe video to put together before I start on the next timeline. The timeline is a game I fell in love with, and I cannot wait to tell its story. If you follow me on Steam, you can probably tell what it is. That was everything I wanted to say. This was a deep dive into the lore and story behind my favourite Resistance base, Black Mesa East. If you enjoyed this, then please leave a like, also leave your thoughts in the comment section below and even share it to another Half-Life fan. If you disagreed or generally dislike this for whatever reason, then also let me know in the comments and leave a dislike. I appreciate you watching this video regardless of how you felt about it. As usual, I would like to thank my amazing gold tier patrons, the best Resistance fighters you could ask for. Jonas, Lewis, Queen Arby, Fluffy the Dragon, Chicken Guy 791, Ruba Mendoza, Duke, Toadnut, Oren X, Azu, Karatana, AJ, Verona, Comfy, and BG Games. Now, what did you think of this lore? Did you enjoy your short visit to Black Mesa East? And what would you like me to cover next? This is where our story ends. Check back next week for a new one.